So A5 access rights. So we have a bunch of access rights to files, read, write, and execute. And basically what this asks us to do is take in 4 files along with their access rights, like read, execute. Ping pong is a file or folder, and it says read, write, etc. Sorry, write, read. Naya can read, good luck can execute, write, or read. Followed by another integer, which asks us, which has the first instance of it tells us what you want to do, either read, and then the file, write, and then the file, execute, and our output will be whether that's acceptable. So can you read Naya? Yes, you can. That's why it said OK. Can you write to hello world? Well, you can read, and execute, but you can't write to it. So access denied. And then execute Naya. Can you do that? No, you can't. You can only read it. And read ping pong? Well, you can read ping pong, yes. So that's why it says OK. And write ping pong. So how do we do this? So, well, you can start by creating a dictionary between operations equals, and we'll just W refers to or you can say write, or make it small. Write goes to W, read, well, that's equivalent to R, and always, always put the colons instead of the commas in the right place. And finally, execute refers to X. So I have my first dictionary. It just refers those things, the operations to letters. All right, so what do? First I have to take my input, so files, and it's probably good to say to create an empty dictionary. So files equals that. It's just a bunch of dictionary. So num files equals int input. And we're going to take a number of files and collect them. So how do we do that? We say for I in range, and we're going to repeat it num files times. And what do we want to do? So we want to add each time we take an input. We want to add it to our files. So how do we want to do that? Well, the first thing we do is our file name. So we're going to refer to file name, file, files, and we're going to say, first we got to take our input. So S equals, let's just call it S equals input, and we want to split it into a list. So then files of S0, that's our input, it's going to be our file name, is going to be equal to, it's going to be equal to S of 1 to the end. So I might have 2, I might have 1. I don't know how much I'm going to have, but I know I'm going to start with 1 and go all the way to the end. So what does that mean? That means I'm going to have a dictionary called files, and it's going to have the file name, reference, R, X, and W, a list of it. And we do that for all of our files. And basically, we create our files dictionary. So now, what do we want to do? We want to read in our files and see, can we read it? Can we read Naya? Can we write hello world exe? So what do we want to do? We want to take operations, or num operations, num ops equals int input number of operations we want to check. So for I in range, and we want to do something a number of times, num ops times. And we want to take an input. So since we already have s, we'll just use it again. It doesn't matter. S equals input dot split. And we want to split our input. Now we're going to have two things. The first thing it's going to ask us to do is our operation. And it's actually going to say R or read or whatever it is. And we're going to see. So we're going to see that first thing. So that first word, if it exists in our files dictionary. So let's see how that works. So we look at operation equals S0. Let's just name it so it's easier to follow. Operation. And file equals S of 1. So what do we want to do? We want to see if the operation exists in the file. So if file in files and we'll assume that it is, but let's just say if file is in my files dictionary, then we want to say if, and not just in files. What we want to do is we want to say if operation is in our files of file. Does that make sense? So we're looking at, we have a dictionary. Let's just say our dictionary is something like file 1. Sorry, I'm not going to use quotations. File 1 WR and then we have file 2, let's say execute and read. Let's just say that's the case. So we're going to check to see execute and read and close our dictionary. So we're going to see if the operation is in file and read, except our operation is going to be called write. So we're going to actually check if our operation of our operation. I hope you guys aren't lost in this. Maybe I should have used different words. Then what do? Well, I say print OK. By the way, this is just, I hope that explained it, but I don't think it did. Else print access denied. So let's go over that again. So we take in our files, right? A number of times, that's fine. And we split our word up, and our operation is our first one. It's going to be read write. Now remember, read write and execute is not stored in our files dictionary. It's stored as WR. So when I say operations, I'm referring to this. And when I send in write, I actually get W. So it's like operations returns what, when I send in write, operation returns W. And we check if that's in files. Well, our files based on what our file is. We have a list. So we have a list. We're checking to see if the operation's in our list based on our files. If it is, press OK. Return print OK. Otherwise, print access denied. Now when I submit my work, oh, I got an error. Of course I do. There we go. I always said be careful, and then I made the mistake right away. Submit again. Let's see what our problem is. Operations is not defined. Operations. Operations. Submit again. And once I fix my error, everything was fine. Submit, and you're done.